Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And this lesson, I wanted to deal with a couple of articles and videos. Here you can see one from Fox News on Instagram, and basically this is dealing with the migrant situation, as it's called, and not just in America, but in different parts of the world, right? Over the past couple of years, more intensely the past couple of, months, the past year, everybody was talking about this whole migrant situation, migrants, right? And the narrative they were painting with that as they were, pushing this not just in the U.S., but in also other parts of the world, right? European countries and all of that. Pretty much a lot of these countries that were not considered third world countries started to have this influx of migrants or individuals from different parts of the world. Some places that would be considered third world countries, and they started to have this influx of them just rushing in, right? And this was, as there's been so much proof that came out, this is all coordinated, set up, it was deliberate. But now that they're in, we're starting to see the next phase or the next step in this plan, where now whether there are, individuals, because I'm sure that's the case, right? You have some individuals that are genuinely just like trying to get out of their area and come to different parts. You have some that are, as some sources have said, right, people that are let out from jails and prisons and gangs from other countries being let here to basically run wild. And once they come in here, it's pretty much like do as thou wilt. And so now with all this going on, you're starting to see things are taking a turn to where now you have this video that I'm going to play. As a matter of fact, now I got to think twice. Maybe I might have to just think of a way. You know what? Maybe what I'll do is I'll post it. I'll post it instead of playing it, or because YouTube, they'll very quickly give you a strike or something along those lines. Even if, because this happened recently where they try to get me for that, where they'll claim that if you post a link to some content that violates their guidelines, then you can get a strike for that. So we got to be real careful there. But anyway, in this video, like I said, I'll probably do a post and then I'll just put it there. But you can see, a whole bunch of individuals with different size guns, and the context here is, right, you can see it says, no help coming. Residents live in fear as armed, quote unquote, ghost gangs roam apartment buildings, allegedly taken over by illegal immigrants. See, and this is just one of a few articles that I have here that is going into this whole narrative here. And something that came to mind as well was this thought of the movie The First Purge. And for those that haven't seen it, in the movie The First Purge, right, not the first Purge movie to come out, but in the movie called The First Purge, I believe that's what it was called, right? The First Purge movie. Yeah, this one. Now, in this movie, I think it's called The First Purge because I believe this is like the first time they were trying to bring this about, almost like an experimentation kind of thing. And when you watch it, you'll see that when they announce this, the purge, people like the behind the scenes, right? Those trying to conduct this experiment had one idea in mind, but the people did something completely different, right? People weren't killing and murdering and basically in that kind of killer spirit as you see in the other Purge movies. Instead, they were just partying, going to stores, taking things because it's not the crime is legal. Instead of what these people experimenting thought, which you can probably, like another part of that narrative would be like population control, right? If you have it 12 hours where all crime is legal and people just go around killing each other, that's culling the population. That's one way to go about it. But um, a lot of people were just partying. And so as these people were behind the scenes watching with their drones and all of that, they're like, all right, something is going on. Clearly, this is not going as we wanted it to go. We need these people to, we need some way somehow to get them, direct them in the way we wanted them to go. And they tried different various means, but it wasn't really working. So eventually they just sent in these agents, right? These plainclothes agents and so on to come in there and cause the violence that they were looking for. And the reason that I say that this sort of reminds me of that is because when you look at a lot of these average civilians and citizens in different countries, right? Take America, for example. There, yes, a lot of people are highly medicated. Yes, a lot of people are running thin and low on patience. However, these people are kind of like the people in the first Purge movie, right? They're messed up in the head for the most part, but not messed up enough to reach the level of violence that these or chaos that these people behind the scenes want. That is enough to justify the harsh draconian measures that they would be able to then enact to lock things down because of the violence. So when you look at even when they do things like the situation with George Floyd or all these other cases where they were rioting and protesting, it didn't get to the point, right, of chaos that would be needed for them to bring in like a hardcore martial law. At best, they brought in these troops with rubber bullets, tear gas, and so on. All right. Now, if you're thinking about it from that perspective, and you're like, well, these people, they need a push, right? They're not just gonna do this by themselves. Then you bring in this migrant narrative, and now what you're starting to see is the kind of crimes that these migrants are committing, which for all we know, it could be agents, right, that are paid off to blend in and run under that narrative. But with all these things they're doing, it is one, causing an uproar, two, stirring up the people, three, causing division, and four, it's like enough to or maybe or may not be, but it's starting to push that violence, okay, that violent nature and that violent spirit out there even more. Because guess what? Believe it or not, some of these countries where some of these individuals are coming from, it's not like America. It's not like where everywhere there's a camera or you can just call 911 or somebody's around to say, hey, don't do this. No, you got places where, you mess around and get your head cut off, right? Get shot quick, get burnt. Sometimes they'll tie you up, throw tires around you, like car tires, and then burn it right there in the middle of the street, right? Gangs chasing people, straight up with machetes. So killing is as nothing in some places, right? Unlike it would be here. And that's why when I'm reading these articles, I'm looking at these things going on here, and it's definitely playing towards a direction of like this violence, right? This escalation of violence, of chaos or civil unrest. Okay, and things are only escalating more and more and more. So what I have here is an article from zerohedge.com. And I'm not going to read into every single one of them, right? Because I have about 3 or so here. But just to get a sense of what's contained in here, you can see the headline here says the immigration crisis is first and foremost a crime crisis. And this is in quotes, right? Police union boss warns Germany no longer safe. And like I said, this isn't just something that is happening in the US, but in also other parts of the world. You had the whole chaos, the situation that was going on in the UK, right? With the migrants, the Muslims, and all this, and this people against this people, and all of that. Anyway, it says, in what is increasingly becoming a PR disaster for the far-left German government, the terror knife attack in Solingen, perpetrated by a Syrian national, is highlighting the unavoidable connection between immigration and exploding crime and violence. See? In the wake of the attack, the German police union, right, or DPOIG, Chairman Manuel Ostermann slammed the status quo, called the immigration problems a crime problem, and said Islam was the greatest threat to the country in terms of security. Hear that? So you can already see how this is pushing that division, violence, and is stirring people up. Okay. Yes, our country has changed. Nothing about it is positive. Germany is no longer a safe country. Out of their own mouths, right? You hear that? Germany is no longer a safe country. We have a massive problem with knife crime. The migration crisis is first and foremost a crime crisis. And the greatest danger to life and limb of people living in Germany is clearly posed by Islamists. So there's clearly some narrative going on in here, right? This reality can no longer be ignored or tabooed. Now is the time to recognize reality and implement clear measures in the constitutional fight against precisely this security policy madness. So exactly the angle that he's going at it from is now what they're able to do, because now they can point to events and situations and examples and say, hey, look at this. Do you see now why? Because if they were just come out and say this, then people are like, whoa, what's going on here? Calm down, chill out, man. But then when you have events that they can point to, then it's hard for somebody to come out and say, whoa, chill out, man. Because he can say, do we just sit here and allow this to happen? Right? So now you start to see like they set up the justification before they come out and, bring whatever solution they're saying. Because then they can say, look over there. You see this? You see that? Let me see. In an interview, he said that politicians often deliver empty phrases following such attacks. And Solingen, if I'm saying that right, was no different. He noted that the Islamist terror attack in Mannheim, which resulted in a police officer's death, showed there is little concern for what officers have to face, and eventually they're gonna swap out these officers for more what they would call effective means, right? It is incomprehensible that budgetary resources for the police are being cut while the threat level is increasing, and that's not just in Germany, right? It says new after a Syrian migrant killed 3 at a festival of diversity in Solingen. Now the German far-left government is talking about what amounts to essentially banning knives. The problem? Knife-free zones already exist, and they are woefully ineffective in Germany. Let's see. Yep, it says the left's play dumb after terror knife murders in Germany. I don't think we can learn much from this attack in particular because the perpetrator was obviously not known to the police. And this is also a tactic they use, right? It's called controlled opposition. One side behind the scenes controls 2 sides for everybody to see. And sometimes what they do is they have one side that says or comes with the angle that more people would probably support, but they have some other side that counters it. And the reason they do that is because people are more likely to rally behind one side when they start to see that there's push against it. And the push that's coming against it is something that they hate even more. What's one example, right? You take even like this situation with Trump and Kamala, and you say, okay, people, like if there was maybe some other better candidate, people would probably go with that person over Trump, right? But they're like, looking at the odds and looking at what we're seeing over here, especially with like Biden, for example, people are more likely, if it came down to it, to go with Trump over Biden. But when they start to see that the Democratic side, for example, starts picking up traction, and they start to see like a failed assassination attempt, and they start to see these things that can eliminate that one possibility, they rally behind it even more. Because now it goes from I guess I would to, oh hell no, we got to make sure we get this done. And it's kind of like the theme or the narrative, or not even a narrative, but like the feeling of something being in jeopardy, right? Something that can always be there that you barely pay mind to, all of a sudden when somebody wants it or you're at the risk of losing it, then it all of a sudden gains value, right? So similarly, in that case, when they have these opposing sides, right? One where it's like, okay, I mean, I guess what he's, he does kind of have a point with how dangerous things are getting. We kind of maybe need to do something about it because, man, that murder, killing 3 people over there was crazy. Okay. And then you have another side that says, oh, well, but, we can't really do too much, right? We don't really know too. Then they're like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense. Then they start to go more towards the other side, right? Anyway, um, let's go to the next one here. So this next one, once again, right? Zero Hedge, Venezuelan migrant driving for Amazon hits mother and 4-month-old child, flees the scene. So it says today in the unending succession of migration or migration news, a Venezuelan migrant working for Amazon drove his truck into a Florida mother who was pushing her 4-month-old child and then fled the scene of the crime, according to a new report by the New York Post. Now, okay, I mean, I'm gonna read some more, right? But it could have been an accident, it could have not been an accident. But regardless of what it was, it definitely plays into the narrative, right? It says the hit and run caused the mother catastrophic injuries and the child was thrown into the street, the report says. Home surveillance video showed the mother being dragged onto the front of the car. The mother, whose identity has not been revealed, was walking with her infant and the family dog in Ives Estates near Miami when they were allegedly hit by a Sahari Pari or Ovalis, I guess that was the name, or Para Ovalis entered the U.S. as a tourist on a tourist visa in 2019, which expired in 2021. According to Homeland Security sources, she was granted temporary protected status that same year, allowing her to apply for a work permit. So she might not have been one of those that just, as we're reading, that just came up in here. But when you hear the term migrant, you're not thinking of, are they somebody that, came in with the swarm? Are they that? You're just thinking, oh, another one of these cases. Let's see. It says here, let me just skim through a little bit. The report says that a few days after the incident, the mother was recovering at home from severe injuries, including a brain injury, a fractured skull, and a brain bleed, Rosen said. Over the weekend, she had to pump breast milk from her ICU bed, which her husband took home to the baby, who was fortunately uninjured. Family lawyer Judd Rosen added, "This is one of the worst and most graphic videos as a parent that I've ever seen," he said. Para Ovalis was released on bond after being arrested. The report says she was run down in broad daylight and left for dead. And within 24 hours of getting arrested, the suspect is back on the streets, potentially driving around. Where is the justice system when you need them? Rosen asked. So you see, once again, the same angle, right? From with a different example, what's going on here? Okay. And so these two deal with like this whole, the dangers, right? The dangerous world. I'll just put it like that. That you're starting to see where now it's like crime is the new norm. Like they say, orange is the new black. Or crime is the new norm. Okay. Now this one here, also another interesting one. As it says, recent events prove Western nations are highly vulnerable to cyber calamity. And on top of this, right, you had Klaus Schwab, which came out and said in a video, which they have him on video, talking about a cyberdemic that would make the CV, right, the C-19 look like a walk in the park. And then you have this, you had the CrowdStrike situation that happened, right? And you see how fast it happened. People woke up and all of a sudden, Windows, services are down due to this bug, yada yada. At least they claim it was a bug. but it shows you just how easily and how quickly a lot of damage can be done, especially on the cyber side of things. And that's pretty much what this article highlights. So the point here is that the problems or the dangers that are on their way, as the Lord mentioned, the beginning of sorrows, are not just on the physical front, not just on crime, physical crime, theft, but it's also on the digital front, which can cause even, more calamities on a higher scale if there's like a prolonged, because this shows you, right, the amount of damage that can be done in a short period of time. But when you have a prolonged period of time, some malfunction, some bug, some hack, some cyber attack that takes down infrastructure, very important infrastructure, right, and takes down the tools needed to fix it, then you have a big problem on your hands, and people are not used to that. And that's gonna definitely, decrease the survival rate by a lot. So who knows? I mean, look, maybe these elites know, because they have simulations, they watch and they see what are the dependencies, right? What are these people's needs? If there was a grid shutdown for 2 months, how many people would survive? If it happened in the summer, if it happened in the winter, if it happened in the spring, who, how, what would, so they see all those, and they put that into consideration when they plan these things, pursuant to Micah 2:1. Anyway, I'll probably just read like the first paragraph of this. But it says, as most people are aware, this month there was a sweeping internet outage across the US, which led to a failure in roughly 8.5 million Microsoft Windows devices. Disruptions included banks, airline networks, emergency call centers, online retailers, and numerous corporate networks. The outage is estimated to have caused at least $5.4 billion in profit losses, and it only lasted about a day. See? So imagine if it lasted longer and if it affected more devices. Then you would have a much bigger catastrophe on your hands. So long story short, when you actually take a look around, lift up your head from your daily life, take a look around the world, and you start to see how things are looking, with your eyes and not with the TV, you start to see that, damn, this is not looking good, right? And it's only getting worse. This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 5, verse 11. One land also shall ask another and say, is righteousness that maketh a man righteous gone through thee? And it shall say, no. At the same time shall men hope, but nothing obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. So what you'll start to see is, as things get worse, people are now, their attention is really going to go on it. And they're gonna seek for peaceful times. They're gonna, for whatever means they can find to try and get peace and safety, but that's not going to be the case, because that's not the times that we're living in. Now, I want to end it off with this. This is the book of Luke, chapter 17, verse 26. And as it was in the days of Noah, which is Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. And now I want to go back a bit, right, to the book of Genesis to show what was it that led up to the flood during the time of Noah. Because similarly, right, as it says in verse 27, all the things that these people were doing till the flood came, along with that, let's jump to Genesis 6. Genesis chapter 6, verse 11. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And that's exactly what we're seeing in this time. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, just as we're seeing now. You have people going to get surgery to change their eye colors, getting surgery to change their physical appearance, right? BBLs, changing their natural use. Let me say it like that. Okay, that's all corruption. All right, straight up corruption. Everything that's being pushed here, is just in the direction of corruption. For all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth, and that's exactly what we see now. Violence and corruption. This is why the Lord brought destruction upon the earth, right? Verse 13, and God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. And in this time, as it will be like it was in the times of Noah, you're seeing the violence, you're seeing the corruption. So what's left? The judgment. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh. Until next time, Shalom.